Volunteer Radio is WUTK 90.3 FM, Knoxville, Tennessee, UT's College of Rock.
It's time for Rock Solid Sports.
The crowd comes alive. The Volunteers are ready. It's football time in Tennessee.
Dobbs drops back, fires long for the end zone. The pass is going to be caught by Tennessee. Tennessee wins! Caught it by Tennessee. Jawan Jennings. What a turn of events.
Give him 6.
To the checkerboards. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Welcome into the Monday night's edition of Rock Solid Sports. Tonight, I am your host, Allie. I'm here by my lonesome in Andy Holt Tower, but we have Griffin and we have Luke. Where are you two gentlemen located tonight, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm right here in home in Indianapolis, and just north of Indianapolis, Indiana. Allie, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All the way from the Midwest. I just had a wedding this past weekend. My aunt got married. It was a special wedding. She was a big Swiftie, and so there was some Taylor Swift mixed in, but there was also a lot of sports talk at the wedding, even though it is summer, and we have so much to get to today, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
What about you, Luke?
Joining from Richmond, Virginia, home for the summer, so this is where I've been doing a StreamYard for the last couple of weeks. It's been a nice summer. It's been nice to be back, but I do miss Knoxville for sure.
I will say, as someone who has not been in Knoxville recently, I've been in Milwaukee, some little town called Appleton. I don't really recommend it unless we have viewers from there at Slays. And then I think I was in Memphis. Soon I'll be near. Where'd you say you were? You're in Indiana. I'm not going to Indiana. Okay.
Many people don't go to Indiana. However, there was the Olympic swimming trials in Indianapolis that was put in a football stadium. Over 22,000 people came to watch the Olympic swim trials. And we'll get to that in segment number 2. But there's been so many great sporting events happening throughout the country the last several weeks. And one of them did happen to be in Indiana. So there's a little pat on the back.
That's really cool. I mean, I've just been going to like minor league baseball stadiums, so like little teams I've never heard of, such as the Timber Rattlers. I learned that's a real snake.
There you go.
I didn't know that was a real snake, but that's pretty cool. Anyways, I think we should go ahead and jump right into it. And let's talk about the NBA draft and free agency going on.
Yeah, Allie. And it's been a really fun week in the NBA just because there's been so much movement, including Dalton Knecht getting picked at the end of last week by the Los Angeles Lakers.
Wild. I feel like he should have gone a little bit earlier.
Oh, that's an understatement. I personally, obviously I'm a homer, but I think it's the steal of the draft. Luke, I'm very interested in what you have to say as well about Dalton Knecht falling all the way to pick 17.
Yeah, I was kind of stunned by that. I can't lie to you. I mean, I'm not sure how he didn't go off the board first, but regardless, we know he's going to ball out. I mean, he's going to be one heck of a player over there. The Lakers, I mean, joining LeBron and joining Bronny right now, that's another thing to talk about is Bronny Jr. with his father. But I don't know. I was stunned that Dalton fell that low. My heart was hurting. I was just kind of wondering, I mean, who's going to bite the bait here? But
yeah,
at the end of the day, he's going to the NBA and he's going to be successful regardless.
What I was doing at home was every time a new pick came up, about starting at pick 5 or 6, I would look at the TV and point and go, Dalton Knecht. I think it's going to be Dalton Knecht. And it just every single time he kept falling and falling and falling. And I felt so bad because they showed him in the green room. And the ESPN guys talked about one thing. They talked about his age. And I don't necessarily see that as a problem with a guy who could be plugged into a bench rotation or even a starting lineup. And like you said, Luke, you said it perfectly. He's going to ball out because that's what Dalton Knecht does. And Allie, I know we watched him all year at UT. That's what he did. He balled out, and in just 1 year, he really was a program-changing player, if you will, at UT.
Oh, absolutely. He definitely gave the program the much-needed push we've been looking for a while. Now, I was watching the draft. I had just landed in Milwaukee like 3 hours before, and I was like, you know what? This is going on. I'm going to go sit and I'm going to watch. And, I'm wearing a Tennessee sweatshirt. I'm already getting like strange little looks. And so I was just staring at the screen, and like about 3 people asked like who I was waiting for. I said Dalton Connect. They're like, I should have guessed that. I was like, yeah, you should have. You should have.
Yeah.
Who else?
He's just that good. And the exciting part is we're now transitioning to the fact where, Luke, several guys didn't get drafted, that being Josiah Jordan-James, Santiago Vescovi, but they did get signed to Summer League teams. So pat on the back there, very exciting. Vescovi is going to play for none other than the Golden State Warriors. Josiah Jordan-James heading to Indianapolis. He's going to play on Summer League for the Pacers. What do you think about those two players getting a chance at the next level this summer?
Well, Summer League is no joke. A lot of people just cast it aside and say, oh, it's kind of like they think of it as the practice squad of the NFL. No one really kind of moves and makes a whole lot of success. NBA, that's not really true at all. This is where these undrafted players, these are where they get to shine. Okay, and there's just as many NBA scouts. They're watching them, and they're not, practice squad in the NFL. You can look at it and say, oh, they're just there to practice. These guys in the NBA are trying to make an NBA team. They're trying to make the bench. They're trying to make, their career turn around, because at the end of the day, you said it earlier. I mean, they were in the green room sitting there, when am I going to get called? Am I going to get called? But in these Summer League games, this is when, this is kind of their last bout. And so they're going to be exercising every single, muscle in their body to try to, scrape up a way to, get on an NBA team. If not, their team that they're playing for right now, there's obviously a lot of movement there. Sometimes they don't, get signed to their, Vescovi might not get signed to the Warriors, but, there's other teams they're watching. So it's a big opportunity for them. Kind of their last, I don't want to say last ditch, but it's getting there. It's getting to that last point where, if they don't, perform well here, they might go overseas somewhere, or they might, go to Australia or Europe or somewhere. But it's a big opportunity for them, and it's not to be messed around with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's comparable to kind of what you're doing this summer, Allie, where you're looking at different minor league baseball teams. The NBA Summer League is an opportunity for these players who might not necessarily make the NBA rosters to kind of flex their muscle, like you said, Luke, and have that last-ditch effort of trying to make an NBA roster. And the different part about the NBA to the MLB or the NFL is that it's really difficult to make rosters because it's only 15 guys on a team, 14 guys on a team. There's a lot less people on these teams than there is in these bigger leagues with bigger rosters. I mean, NFL's 53 guys.
I mean, nonetheless, though, that means, like you're saying, like the minor league baseball teams, they're absolutely stacked with people as well. Like
Exactly.
I saw some insane plays. Like, granted, I had to be at a table the whole time, but when I did get to go look, I saw some like really cool, especially the Memphis Redbirds. I think they're AAA or triple star. I don't know. Anyways, continue, Griffin. My apologies for interrupting.
No, that's why I brought it up, because you're seeing that in real time where all of these leagues have different stages. Every stage of sports has different leagues, different opportunities. And it's cool to see these guys that played college ball at Tennessee, made an Elite Eight, and now they have a chance to play at the next level. And then the next stage is, well, do they make it to the NBA or do they make it to overseas? And that's the tricky part. And I mean, I wish the best for all of the VFLs. Hopefully they get a chance, whether it's in the G League or whether it's a two-way contract to the NBA, just trying to make those rosters, because we know that Santiago and Josiah poured so much into Tennessee, and hopefully they might make a roster. But the big part is in this NBA free agency is that there's been so many contracts signed in the last couple of days, and they've been exciting. None bigger than Luke Klay Thompson going to the Dallas Mavericks, who just lost in the finals. The four-time champion leaving his splash brother in Steph Curry, and now he's on the move.
Absolutely. And we kind of talked about that when the finals are going on. We said that, Luka needed somebody else to help him out because, as much as Kyrie Irving had an incredible career, he's somewhat on the downslope here. He did not have a great series. He wasn't really contributing to Luka all that much. There was a game or two where he put up some points for him, but at the end of the day, it felt like it was just Luka out there stranded. And so the Mavs are, this offseason trying to make moves because they don't want to. I don't want to say they were embarrassed, but they, in reality, they kind of were. They didn't show up at all during the finals, and so they're making these moves. And this is, I think, their perfect guy. I think he had some struggles in his last couple of years with the Warriors, but now he's looking to kind of turn it around. I think this is going to be some sort of rejuvenation for him, kind of a breath of fresh air. He had so much pressure with you said it, the Splash Brothers with Steph Curry. He was expected to be, having those performances year after year. And so I think here he can kind of, relax and be himself. And he might not be he's not going to be putting up Luka numbers, but he's going to be, someone that helps. I talked about this last time I was on. He needs, he doesn't need a bunch of Lukas, but he needs, a bunch of people that are going to be there to put up consistent numbers to help him out. And I think this is the first step in that right direction.
I don't know how much Klay Thompson has in the tank, if I'm going to be honest. After
it's a fair opinion,
however many knee injuries, the wear and tear of playing so late into the season, I think what we see out of some of these playoff guys is they are so good in their prime, but if they're on all-time great franchises, how long can they really go? Because when you think about the number of games and the number of months that they have off, Klay Thompson has had much shorter off seasons than other guys in the NBA. Sometimes you look at role players in the league and you're like, how are these guys still around? They've been on, kind of back of the pack teams their whole career. Well, they've had 2 months longer in the offseason to recover. Klay Thompson has been outstanding his whole career. However, he has a shorter offseason. He's played on the Warriors. He's made so many finals runs, and he's got the injuries. And so my hope is he could be a plug-and-play three-point shot maker, a 3-and-D guy. But how good he could really be for them, is he really a top-tier starter this late in his career? I don't know, and I think that's my question mark heading into this next year with the Mavericks.
I don't think he's a starter, but I think he's, regardless, going to be someone that makes an impact for this team. And I know what I completely get what you're saying. He's old. He doesn't have the offseason, and certainly the knee injuries. You're right. It's a big question mark. But at the same time, I think this is a big kind of step forward for the Mavs here to say, we need people. I think they realize, in the finals that it wasn't going to cut it. And so regardless, it's going to be interesting to see. I think that we can agree on that. It's going to be interesting to see kind of, how he's played and how much of a difference that he makes. But I think it's a step in the right direction for the Mavs.
We know me. I don't really have much to say when it comes to that. But y'all slayed that. I kind of want to talk about MLB right now, though, because, I've been expressing more interest in baseball because that's where I'm going. So who wants to start us off?
Well, the MLB season as a whole is interesting now because, to be honest, I know you've been working in minor league, which is so fun. But, Luke, you can probably attest, if you're a fan of anything else, if you're not an MLB homer, you start paying attention to MLB on July 1st. And if I'm correct, today's July 1st. And that's the fun part, is because what else is there in July but some golf tournaments on the weekend? The Tour de France is going on right now. You have Wimbledon that runs through around July 10th through the 14th. And then you have the MLB regular season. And that's the exciting part. And everybody that's listening from Knoxville, we're so thankful that you've joined us tonight. We have so many different topics to get to, including MLB. And you know who people from Knoxville are a fan of? And it's those Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves are having a great season, 46-36 at the moment, but they're still 8 games behind the Phillies. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out. Obviously lost Acuna earlier in the year, such a heartbreaker there. But the Atlanta Braves overall have been really good. Azuna's batting .300. He's got 21 home runs, 67 RBIs. He leads the team in about everything. But as far as, the Braves go, which is kind of the hot team in the Knoxville area, they got to start winning divisional games. And just like college baseball goes, MLB is the same way. You play 3-4 game series. And what do you need to do? You need to win 2, or you need to win 3. And I'm sure, Allie, you saw that on the weekends where teams were trying to win multiple games. Luke, we saw it with Vols all year long. You're trying to win 2 or you're trying to win 3. And I think that's the way I'm looking at this MLB season is if you're a fan of the Braves, if you're a fan of anybody else in the league, you want to see your team take majority of the games every single weekend.
Well, as a Braves fan, I have been the reason I've been traveling to minor league baseball stadiums is I'm working for an app, and the app is not gambling, but it's prediction. You can challenge your friends starting at the age of 18. No money at all. But all the challenges I keep winning are Braves because right now we don't really have other teams going on. I mean, we have the WNBA on the app, and that's cool, but I know nothing about it, which I should know more. I just haven't. I've been like in every single different states every week. I haven't had the chance to just sit down and watch the TV or my phone, which sad about. But I will always take the Braves, and they actually they've been doing really good when I have gotten the chance to sit down and watch them. But I think what was I watching this weekend? I think it was the Cubs versus the Brewers was the series we were watching this weekend because I was with a Cubs fan and a Brewers fan. So that's what we had to watch. And that was an interesting game. I think the Brewers won the majority.
I'm sure. They are the standard in the Midwest right now. The NL Central, kind of my bread and butter. I grew up a Cincinnati Reds fan. We don't have a team here in Indy, but there's lots of surrounding teams, including the Milwaukee Brewers, the Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, and obviously kind of the big wig team is the St. Louis Cardinals. But the Brewers are playing really good baseball, and the Cubs were playing good baseball, and now they've kind of fallen off the map, and that's the tricky part. And
I was this close to buying a Brew Crew jersey at the airport because it was just so cool. But I was like, you know what? If I don't even own a Braves one, I don't need to own a Brew Crew one.
There you go. Well, I know friend of the UT student media, Caitlin Gill, loves her Milwaukee teams and loves the Brewers. So I see that all the time. But looping back to the Braves, I think if there's one thing of note that I've noticed is you got to win games on the road. And that's the tricky part. And you probably saw that the Cubs had to go to Milwaukee and try to win games. That's very difficult. The Braves are 26-14 at home. They don't lose a lot, but they're 20-22 on the road. And so if you're going to win games, you got to go to Philadelphia, you got to go to New York and win baseball games. And that's the tricky part to do.
That's a common thing though, with if you're a fan of if you're a Tennessee fan and you're a fan of the Braves, you kind of expect the same from both. Road games are always hard. Road games are hard for any team out there. And I just think as the season goes on and gets more in the groove, I think the Braves can do it. I think the Braves will get better and start pulling off more on the road wins.
Luke, anything jumping out at you as far as the MLB goes?
You described it earlier, Griffin. I'm one of those guys. This might be my least followed sport, but when it comes July and there is nothing else to watch, this is what I start to watch. But I am my whole family's from Pittsburgh. I'm a big Steelers fan, so I very loosely follow the Pirates. And you want to mention the Braves. The Braves just won 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh.
There you go.
So,
They did. I was very excited about that.
Yeah, serious. I wasn't, but
Yeah,
that's great.
But, it's a good thing for me. Maybe not for you, but let me have this.
I'll let you have it. But I definitely, as this month goes on and into August, I'll definitely be following the Pirates a little more because, again, I'll be watching some golf. I think that we have one major left, but otherwise it's a lot of mediocre kind of tournaments. But I'll be watching some golf and hopefully some baseball from now on. So I'm excited.
And the goal is to get some other people on the program. I know Riley and I have been talking to a number of different folks trying to get them on the show, which I'm really excited about. Lots of different interviews, including baseball guys and just some talent around the Knoxville area because, as we know, guys, football is around the corner. Football is coming, and we're going to talk about that. But before we get into our next segment, I do want to keep it on baseball or just keep it on home field advantage. We were talking about how the Braves play at Truist Park in Atlanta. So I have a little bit of trivia for you guys. Are you ready for it?
Yes, we're so ready.
All right, let's do it.
So between Tennessee football, basketball, and baseball, Tennessee played 67 games at home. They played 67 games at home, football, basketball, and baseball. So Neyland Stadium, Thompson Bowling Arena, and Lindsey Nelson Stadium. How many games do you think that Tennessee lost out of the 67 at home this year?
12.
We lost. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna go 16.
Tennessee's winning percentage at home was a whopping 89.5%. Tennessee went 60-7 at home this year in the major three sports. Talk about an incredible year on Rocky Top. Talk about a home field advantage. I don't really know if there's anywhere else in the country because, guys, Tennessee baseball played 73 games this year.
It's insane.
They won 60 of them. First team in SEC history to do so. And so the home field advantage at Tennessee was 60-7 on this campus. So pretty incredible if you ask me when you talk about that home field advantage. I know I'm excited about it heading into next year, 12-team playoff in football. Obviously, lots of different transfer guys, and Rick Barnes is building in basketball. And then, Tony Vitello, we're a week away. We are just a week removed. We're a week removed from a national championship. How good does that feel? I mean, pretty incredible.
Absolutely thrilled. Like coming back, like I had landed the night before and coming back to Knoxville and like us winning, insane. I'm also already so ready for like the seasons to start. I'm wearing my orange. Wasn't
there you go.
Then, but always ready for like the sports to start again.
I guess I'm wearing the exact same shirt I was wearing last Monday, Luke, when we were on the
I think I am too.
we were rocking this. What?
Show us the shirt.
It's the dark mode because Tennessee.
Okay, look at all of us. My little claw clip has Tennessee on it.
They won 2 games last weekend to win a national championship. They wore the black jerseys both times. But, guys, I do want to talk about real quick before we go to break, how incredible was that parade from the fans for a baseball national championship?
I didn't get to go.
I didn't
Unbelievable. I wish I was there. I was looking at the
videos,
pictures.
but that's insane. Tony Vitello like crushing a Miller Lite, hilarious. And someone signing a baby. Who signed the baby?
Xander Sechrist signed a baby.
And then didn't Tony Vitello sign a woman's? He signed someone's boobs.
He signed it. Yeah, they were signing about anything and everything in the 865, and I loved it. And it was so fun.
Was it Kirby that took off his shirt?
I think so, and it was.
I wouldn't doubt it.
The joy.
It was amazing. I hate that I wasn't there.
My favorite picture was it was Tony Vitello's PR agent, and he's crushing the beer, and she's like shielding her eyes. It was so funny. I think that made my day.
Honestly, let the boys have it. Let the boys have their win. Okay.
It was so awesome.
I will say, I think one of my favorite moments from that entire weekend was when Tony got to approach his father. That had me like tearing up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like that was just so
very true.
And so his dad was a coach. And
yes.
then he always wanted to be a coach, and he becomes a coach, and now he's a national champion.
As a coach, which is absolutely insane.
It's special. It's very cool. It's very cool to see that he was able to share that embrace with his dad, with his family in Omaha. They were all able to make it out. And then we talked about the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee fans were at the game, and Heupel, Barnes, Manning, Wallen. I mean, the guys that were there just.
Wasn't it Simo that was like, he didn't go, "Where's my girlfriend?" or "Where's my mom?" He goes, Where's Morgan Wallen?
Where's Morgan Wallen? He on the field. I mean, it was just the joy from these guys. It was incredible to see. And it's been a week.
I was at work, by the way, when we won. And I stayed 30 to 45 minutes later than I needed to because I was like, I'm not gonna leave and like drive home and miss the end of the game.
Oh.
And I was crying. I was standing outside on the deck at Calhoun's, and I just like squatted to my knees and just started tearing up because I never, like transferring to UT, I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah.
I always hoped so, but that's what all students hope.
And here's my thought, guys. I think it could be, and Peyton Manning said this live on television, it could be the domino. It could be
I hope it is. I hope
it opens the floodgates because Tennessee just finished 3rd in the Learfield Directors Cup. It was the highest SEC finish, the highest finish in Tennessee history, 11 top 10 finishes in the NCAA. I think it was 6 top 5 finishes in the NCAA. I mean, pretty, incredible, earth-shattering stuff out of this athletic department that has less sports than some other schools around the country, just being the best SEC school. It was an incredible year. And it was capped off. Literally the last game of the 23-24 year was the national championship win. So that's a punctuation mark, exclamation mark, if you will, on the end of this year. And that's the most fun part as we're going to, transition into this summer. Think about the next year, bring athletes on, talk about the potential to what this athletic department has in store next year. It is pretty exciting.
I'm absolutely thrilled. But on that note, I think we should go ahead and take our first break, and then we'll come back and talk about the Olympic trials, which Griffin will lead us in because he knows more about it than I have the capacity for. So, all right. This is 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
From Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
WTK thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols volleyball program for their support, and we wish Coach Watt and the team good luck for the upcoming 2024 season this fall. Lady Vols volleyball season tickets are on sale now with home games against Florida, Kentucky, South Carolina, and many others. Student ticket information is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. General public tickets, including all season tickets, are at allvols.com.
Volunteer Radio receives support from the Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesday through Sundays, now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. WTK's Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WTKRadio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Lee Ronaldo from Sonic Youth, and you're listening to 90.3 The Rock, modern rock, and more for Knoxville.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2024 football Vols will play home games inside Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and others. Allvols.com for info with a link at WTKRadio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols.
Welcome back to Monday night's edition of Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Allie, here with Griffin and Luke. Wonderful to have these two gentlemen on. I was a little nervous yesterday to start us off real quick. I was texting Griffin. I almost didn't make my flight back home. And I texted him and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. First plane was so delayed that whenever they said boarding was going to start, the plane wasn't even like landed. So I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport for my layover. And I'm landing and I'm sprinting through this airport. Like people are dodging out of my way and I make it halfway through boarding just so I could be here for you guys.
We appreciate a Malone type beat, right? You know, sprinting through the airport.
I scared a lot of people with the way I was sprinting. This one man was like on like the bridge. He was like telling us, I missed my flight. It's not fair that other people can make theirs. I was like, well, sir, can I get past you? Because I need to make mine. He goes, well, if no one can make theirs, like I can't make mine. No one else should make theirs. So
push him out of the way.
I did. I picked my like carry-on. I said, just because you missed yours doesn't mean I'm missing mine. And then my friend was like, why would you do that? I was like, I don't know. I gotta be back in Knoxville. Knoxville is calling.
That Arch Manning finally gets his opportunity under center. Expectation.
Was that you, Griffin? Were you listening to something about Arch Manning?
Yeah, I was just doing my research. I didn't mean to start it. I'm doing my research about conference realignment because I think that before we get into Olympics, it's going to be an interesting, little.
It's gonna be an interesting season for football and like all
Yeah,
the
it's going to be an interesting season for everything. There it goes again. But what I'm trying to figure out is like this realignment is exciting because Texas, Oklahoma are joining, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit later in segment 3, but it's just going to be crazy because so many of these athletes are switching conferences. They're switching conference championships. It's just going to showcase a whole new conversation when it comes to college athletics. It's not a Power 5 anymore. It's a Power 4. Pac-12 is no longer. It's dissolved. It's gone. Pac-12 network doesn't show up anymore. And so that's the interesting part before we get going about a little Olympics. It's just really interesting to think about how college athletics are changing, and they're changing fast. And what we talk about, what you guys listen to on the radio, on the TV, on YouTube, it's all going to look different because so many different teams are on the move.
Well, here's one thing I always think about, though, is everything is always forever evolving. And this is going to bring new experiences and new doors for everyone. But also, if you think about it, everyone's goal is still the same. And that's to win that natty every year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really going to change too much in the minds of fans, personally. We'll just have new, different opponents, like different people to like truly fight for, like an SEC conference title. But we're still, that's my opinion, though.
That's fair. And it's like the goal remains the same, but the path changes.
True. Yeah. Are they adding more? Well, hold on. We'll save this for the final segment because I was definitely go into it. But Griffin, I want you to start us off with talking about the Olympic trials and everything.
Yeah, well, the fun part is all of the different Olympic sports are wrapping up. And I talked about in the MLB segment how we start talking about baseball now. Well, in an Olympic year, we have a lot to look forward to because there's so many different stories to tell. And that's why I love radio. That's why I love sports media, is because of the stories that are within. And that's the most exciting part. I just started doing research for their Paralympic Games later on in the summer, end of August, beginning of September. I'll be going to Paris at the end of the summer, which I can't wait for USA Today and UT. We're going to be telling stories about plenty of different Paralympic athletes from all over the country. And so stay tuned for that little teaser from there. We got guys from the Daily Beacon and TV, the Volunteer Channel, all kinds of different studio media members going to Paris to talk about the Paralympic Games.
Look at you go, Griffin. Look at you.
But as far as
we're so proud. We're so proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, you guys. But even more exciting right now as we speak is Olympic teams are being named. The swimming trials just wrapped up from Indianapolis. The diving trials just wrapped up from Knoxville. And some of the most intriguing, track in Eugene, Oregon, and gymnastics in Minnesota.
I got some really cool things to talk about for gymnastics. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and those are that might be one of, if not the most favorite team out of everyone, is that gymnastic team.
I think it's the most watched when it comes to it.
What was that?
I think it's like the most like paid attention to, the most followed when it comes to the Olympics because we have such great athletes such as Simone Biles.
Yeah, the big one week 1 is swimming. The big one week 2 is track. And then sprinkled in is the gymnastics team and all-around competition. And the team was named last night. Simone Biles is the headliner. She's so back. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a graphic on the floor routine where she got up to like 12 feet in the air.
So I watched a video on this. Her head was at the top, like was 12 feet in the air, but her toes were at 7'4". She could easily clear every single currently active NBA player, including I think it was Wemby, and she has like 3 inches of like clearance over Shaq's head. Think about that. She could just jump over Shaq
on a spring.
That's insane.
On a spring mat.
I know it's on a spring mat,
but still, it's
she could still
insane.
probably jump like more than half as high without a spring floor.
It's insane. And so this is also the first time ever where 2 defending all-around gold medalists will compete in the Olympics, because Suni Lee won the gold medal in Tokyo. Simone Biles won the gold medal in Rio in 2016, and they're both on the team.
I don't know. The USA is pretty stacked.
And this year is very different because 4 of the 5 gymnasts are returners. And usually you get a 16, 17, 18-year-old that's brand new, hasn't gone before. And you have that in Hensley Rivera. but Jade Carey, Jordan Childs, and Suni Lee and Simone Biles, they all competed in either Tokyo or Rio. And that's the most interesting thing about this team is because it's experienced. And when you think about performing under pressure, you think about going to the Olympic Games. If I'm USA Gymnastics, boy, am I confident about this gymnastics squad that was named last night.
Well, that's our advantage right there. Yeah, I mean that's the seniority. I mean, you talked about it. There's teams out there, not USA that are bringing these young guys, especially teams. I don't even think Russia is I don't know what their whole deal is, but they used to bring like 16-year-olds. And so, I mean, I'm sure that we've brought in some, people of that age. But the point is, yeah. But the point is that we have these guys, the Suni Lees and the Biles that, they've been there. Biles, I mean, she's a veteran. And so that's our advantage on these other teams is how, how experienced and how much seniority we have when it comes to the Olympic Games. And I was really ecstatic to see Biles, have a dominant performance. Because I'm sure you guys remember she had that, that mental trip up last Olympics. So it was tough, but
yep, she had the spinnies.
The spinnies, yeah, the yips, the mental
block.
The mental block, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. But I was really excited to see her, succeeding.
That's like the most impressive thing about Biles is she has been in this for so long now, and then she's just getting better and better and better every year, every Olympics. Like, I'm excited to see how she does in France. Is that where it's at?
In Paris.
I was like, where? Hold on, wait.
Paris, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I want to talk about the swimmers though. Like, they're swimming in the Seine? Gross.
Well, so for open water, the river still isn't cleared yet.
It's not.
There's still algae. So very interested to see if that gets cleared up. But when you talk about the pool, the University of Tennessee has 15 swimmers qualified for the Paris Olympic Games.
Insane.
Incredible. 15 Olympians. And so when you think about just 15 former or current Vols, that's a lot of athletes. I don't know if Tennessee's ever put that many people on the team. And it includes NCAA champion Jordan Crooks, NCAA champion Erica Connolly, who was Erica Brown when she was competing for the University of Tennessee, who is the lone American going to the Olympic Games. But then there's also so many, like Martin Espenberger, who's going to be a junior next year. He won a world championship medal in February. And so he's going to be someone who could potentially win a medal. Guy Caribe, who has medaled at Worlds before. He's medaled at NCAAs before. He will be in the running for a medal. It's just, staggering how many different Olympians Tennessee has, including Caribe, Connolly, Crooks, Espenberger, and then the list just goes on and on. There's 3 different Canadian Olympians, including Regan Rathwell, who missed over a year of swimming after dislocating her shoulder. She was only cleared for a couple months, qualified for Canadian trials in April, she qualified for Canadian trials in March, and then she qualified for the Olympic Games in April. Talk about a crazy story. She didn't even have the qualifying time because she hadn't been able to swim in a year, and then she went and made the Olympic team. Just crazy stuff coming out of Knoxville. It makes me really happy to even just talk about it.
Can I just say once again, like I always do, I think I say this every single episode I'm on, but I think Tennessee is the everything school.
Yep.
Personally. Like, have other schools sent that many athletes, like especially in the SEC to the Olympics?
Besides Tennessee, I mean, Florida's really the only one who's stacking up in the pool, sending that many different Olympians. And it's because Tennessee has recruited so well from across the globe. And those swimmers have developed on their time in Rocky Top to the fact, well, whether they're still on the campus or they're a professional athlete, those swimmers are now advancing to the top of the sport, which is the Olympic Games, which is so exciting. Because if you're listening to the radio right now, if you're in Knoxville, if you're looking for a reason to tune into the Olympics, look no further than you can cheer for Vols in the Olympic Games. And that's the exciting part. You have someone who bleeds orange that will be in Paris competing. And that's the most fun part. I can't wait to see different Vols and Lady Vols compete.
And we have someone who bleeds orange reporting. Woot woot, represent.
True. I'll be there for the Paralympic Games. I won't be able to be there for the Olympics, obviously, which will be
Still both just as cool.
still just as cool, just as important. And to be honest, the Paralympic needs more coverage. There's such a news hole in the adaptive sport world. And I was able to go this time last year to learn about adaptive sport in the Philippines with the Vol leaders. And the Vol leaders are actually in Africa as we speak, which is so cool. We talked to Rachel Sutliff a little bit ago from the cross country team about Vol leaders. We talked about with Elsa and Esther from tennis about Vol leaders. Well, they're now overseas in South Africa. They're going to be going to Botswana later this week, playing with different schools and organizations and teaching them about sport. It's just so cool the way the athletic department is, supporting sport globally and recruiting, bringing athletes in, and then giving back to the international community.
I think my favorite thing to follow right now when it comes to like Olympics or Paralympics is the Paralympics TikToks. And
Oh, seriously. Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
And I'm watching it. I'm like, am I allowed to laugh? But I am, I guess. They're the ones putting it out because I'm like, oh my God, who posted this? And it's the Paralympics. It's like the actual official Paralympics.
That's exactly I'm like, oh my gosh, what an awful thing to put. And then I look at it, and it's like the actual Paralympics account. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. Am I allowed to laugh at this?
Yeah, if you're listening right now, go watch Paralympic TikToks or Reels. They're incredible. And it's so fun because it's drawing attention to the sport. It's so fun because they are so playing on humor, but at the same time, these athletes are just incredible. And so it's just
their
perfect
abilities.
match.
It's showcasing their abilities and their athleticism whilst also grasping people's attention. Like, that's my favorite thing about marketing and like social media now, because you don't really they don't show their brand in a professional way. They know how to appeal themselves to the minds of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I love that. I'm more likely to look into something if it makes me laugh. I'm not going to lie.
Of course, everybody is, right? I mean, that's what it is, right? We edit clips for social. We look at Twitter, Instagram Reels. We look at all kinds of things. And that's what I love about the Paralympic, committee and social team is they know what they're doing, and they're trying to add in viewership and things like that. And that's the exciting piece. It's pretty fun to see what they're doing to try to draw attention. And those teams were just named as well. So Paralympic swim team was just named. The track trials are towards the end of July. So para athletics team will be named as well. But there's some studs that will be at those games as well.
All right. Well, do we want to talk about anything else throughout this segment? Do we got anything else on the docket, or do we want to take our final break and then open up at the end about how I'm not happy that the SEC has expanded?
I think that's a good teaser. I think one more break, and then we just open up that can of worms of how it's official, guys. It's official. They threw a welcome party. Pitbull was in Austin. Mr. 305 had a concert in Texas, they had a game day. Feinbaum was there. They entered into the SEC with style. And then in Norman, Oklahoma, they brought the Sooners into the SEC as well. So whether you like it or not, UT Austin and Oklahoma are officially a part of the SEC.
Oh, well, on that note, this is Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Edition here on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Wednesday home for Rock Solid Sports for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, plus a 25-foot big screen at University Commons Way. Fieldhouse Social welcomes sports fans and others alike to enjoy dishes like the citrus marinated chicken, grilled Faroe Island salmon, and smoked ribs. FieldhouseSocial.com or on Twitter and Facebook.
WTK thanks to UT Athletic Department and the Vols basketball program for their support. And we wish Coach Rick Barnes and the team good luck for the 2024-25 season. The Vols basketball team will host games against Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Georgia, and others. And season ticket interest forms are available at allvols.com. Student ticket information is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Rock Solid Sports will keep you up to date with UT basketball all season long.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2024 football Vols will play home games inside Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and others. allvols.com for info with a link at wtkradio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetix.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols.
The Rock thanks Peak IV Hydration at 906 Sevier Avenue for their support. Peak IV Hydration is South Knoxville's first hydration station, helping clients to hydrate and recover for athletic performance, hangovers, cold and flu, and for overall wellness. Open Thursday through Monday from 10 to 6 p.m. More information and booking available by phone at 865-281-5263 or at peakivhydration.com.
Hey, this is Ben Nichols from Lucero, and you're listening to WUTK 90.3 FM, UT's College of Rock.
Volunteer Radio receives support from the Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesday through Sundays, now into September at Smoky Stadium in Kodak. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will have weekly Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Welcome back to Monday night's edition of Rock Solid Sports. Sorry, I had trouble pressing the buttons right then. If y'all were watching that, I kept missing them and hitting the wrong ones. But I'm Allie. I'm hosting tonight here with Griffin and Luke, and we're going to get into why I am not a happy camper that states that are not in the southeastern part of the United States are now in the Southeastern Conference. Luke, I'm going to have you lead us off.
Yeah, guys. I mean, Griffin said it earlier. The SEC is moving to 16. We had 14. Now we're at 16. Oklahoma and Texas are breaking from the Big 12. I mean, completely. The Big 12 is gone. But let me ask you this, because this is something that really relates to Tennessee kind of as the fall approaches. I'll ask you a question, then a follow-up. I mean, first of all, are Texas and Oklahoma ready? And then, how much success right out of the gate do you think they're going to have?
No, and not a lot.
Quick answer from Allie Seaton, holding it down in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'll go a little bit more, in depth, if you will. Are they ready for it? I would say I think they're ready to get punched in the mouth because that's what's going to happen. Like I was listening to an interview with Steve Sarkisian, head coach of Texas football. He knew he needed to get his roster more physical, his roster, more athletic, because that's the league they're joining. And so are they ready? Yeah, sure. Like they're ready, but they're ready to get beat. They're ready to get welcomed rather rudely to the Southeastern Conference. And so will they have success right away? I think Oklahoma's going to struggle, and I think Texas is going to do okay. Do I think either school will do incredible? Not necessarily, because I think there's going to be growing pains. But Texas was the most well-rounded athletic department in the country objectively last year. So will they have success? Absolutely, they'll do well. They made the college football playoff last year. It's 12 teams this year. They could get in, but also they could be challenged week after week. Do they get worn out? Do they lose more games? That's also a possibility. So there's a long-winded answer to your question, but I think it all makes sense in that these teams knew it was coming for 2 years now. However, I don't think you can truly be ready until you step on that field, you step up to the plate, you step on the court, and you actually have to deal with the gauntlet that is SEC conference play.
Absolutely. I'm going to side with you there. I think, Texas and Oklahoma, they're coming in. They think they're getting prepared, but I really don't think they are until, again, like you said, they step up into the batter's box and they face SEC play. They face these teams like Alabama and Georgia, who are just, the SEC's top competitors. I don't think they're prepared for that at all. I think they are, but I don't think they, are ready to face what's coming, I guess. And so to answer my own question, I agree. I don't think they're going to have any type of major success. No, 10-2, 11-1 or whatever. But I think Texas is going to have a better season than Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma will have a whole lot of success. I think they're going to be down kind of further beneath in the standings. Allie, do you have, anything else besides your resounding hatred?
Listen, I mean, I was going to say more, but I just wanted to get that out there that I'm not the biggest fan of this. But you know what? Expanding, we're going to have new things. It's going to be interesting, more entertainment for the eyes of all sports fans. I agree with you guys. I think, Texas is a pretty good team, pretty good athletic program, but I don't think that they're going to be able to keep up with the SEC day in, day out. Oklahoma, God bless their sweet little Midwest souls. They're Midwest, right? Yeah.
Ish.
Close enough. But I don't think
Somewhere
they're
in there.
ready. I don't think that they're going to fall flat on their face, but anytime there's a big transition when it comes to teams or anything in general, the first year is not going to be the best of years. So they're not going to be coming in losing every single game. Neither team is. They're going to have their wins, they're going to have their losses, but I don't see them going to the top right away.
Without a doubt. And, they have officially been, instituted into our conference today. And so, they can start recruiting, but we can look at it and say SEC recruiting, I mean, is just off the charts. And I guess, Griffin, I'll ask you first. I mean, can Texas and Oklahoma come in, just after this year and match the spending and effort that some of these other SEC schools that have been in this conference for so long? Can they match that intensity, and can they match that the willpower to recruit as hard as these longtime SEC schools?
Yeah, that's a great thought and a great question, because I think when it comes down to the revenue generating sports, that's what it comes down to: recruiting, building rosters, making boosters happy, NIL deals, whatever it may be. But Texas has won the Directors Cup, Learfield Directors Cup, 3 of the last 4 years. They're no stranger to success. However, they haven't won maybe a major national championship. They've won other ones. And so I think that they are a huge brand, and they'll do a good job recruiting. Oklahoma is the same way. People want to go play there. People want to go play at Texas. However, it's going to be difficult for them to reach the players that the other SEC schools are reaching, because those kids are going to want to stay in state. So to answer your question, do I think people are going to go jump to Texas over another SEC school? Probably not right away. It's going to be tough. But will they eventually, continue to bridge that gap? I think so, because NIL levels the playing field for both Oklahoma and Texas. And Texas has a lot of really good high school football players, and a lot of them want to go be a Longhorn. And that's the advantage Sarkisian has. And a lot of those guys from Northern Texas want to be Sooners. And so that's the advantage, is that football is still pretty big over there out west. And those players will end up at those specific schools.
Without a doubt. Allie.
I don't think you could have said it better, honestly, because there are still so many talented athletes in each of those states. And, their lifelong dreams could have been to be a Longhorn or a Sooner. Do I think that someone from, say, Knoxville is going to jump ship and say, I'm going to Texas now that they're in the SEC? No. You're right with that. It's going to take some time and a while for them to get that hype behind them when it comes to, if you want to be an SEC school, you want to play for the SEC, you're going to need to build up your reputation in the SEC.
Without a doubt. Absolutely. Because, we can look at it and say, right off the bat, these guys have been recruiting well for eons. But when you come in here to a new conference and maybe, your record this year won't reflect, how they've been performing in the past, how does that reflect, your recruiting? Because when you don't have, that top record in the SEC or even in college football, recruits are going to all of a sudden start looking at other teams. And when that starts to happen, do these programs slide down? There's a lot of what if variables here, but I definitely think that these first couple of seasons in the new conference is going to have an impact on the recruiting. Do I think they can keep up? Absolutely, but it's going to take time. And so, that's a big variable. Another thing is, how do these teams perform in the playoffs? So we have a new playoff system this year. We have new teams in the SEC. How do you guys think the SEC is going to kind of fare in these college football playoffs?
I didn't really think about that. I was just, covered in my hatred. But I don't know. I mean, this is it's not totally uncharted ground, because there have been additions in the past, right? So, I mean, I think it's just going to here's my thing. It'll be smoother and smoother every year that there's an addition. I don't really know how it's going to look, so I don't really have the best idea how to formulate my answer correctly, but I have faith that it's not going to crash and burn and light on fire.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about as far as is adding 2 more teams to the SEC that are both good, that are both at least middle of the pack SEC teams. Is that going to generate more losses in the conference? Are people going to beat each other more often? Because playing in the SEC in college football is a gauntlet. And with a 12-team playoff, you're going to see more SEC teams get in if the SEC is strong at the top of the conference. If there's a lot of teams blended together that have 4 or 5 losses, you could see all of those teams missing the playoff, which would be no good in the eyes of Greg Sankey and the SEC. However, I think the way it will shake out is that you'll have 3, maybe 4 SEC teams get in, because at the top of the conference, they're going to be really good and they're going to beat all the other SEC teams if they stay consistently strong throughout the year and win on the road. And that's the fun part. You could see an SEC champion get in, say it's Georgia, who's got the most talented program roster in the country. But then you could also have a team that loses 2 games, and maybe one that loses 3 to really good opponents. And all of those teams get in with at-large bids in the top 12, because you have the 4 teams that win their conferences in the Power 4. You got SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC have the winner of those conferences. And then you have the 8 at-large bids. And when you think about 12 teams, you could see SEC squads getting in there. And that's the exciting part. There's no more divisions, guys. There's no more East. There's no more West. There's just the SEC, where it always means more and where hopefully it means more teams in the college football playoff.
Absolutely. And I think the big hoopla is, the SEC has all these teams and there's so many, stacked teams in here where, everyone's saying, oh, we're going to see a lot of these teams in the playoffs, when I think in reality, that's not the case, Griffin. I think, I side with what you're saying. I think we're either going to see, a kind of a blended schedule where we're seeing, maybe the top team having a handful of losses. And so it's really going to be interesting to see kind of, I think we definitely are going to have at least 2 or 3 teams, but some people are throwing around larger numbers, somewhere in like 5 or 6. And I can't see that at all. It's testy, but I don't see that. I'm around the number 2 to 3 teams. Allie, did you have a certain ballpark number of teams you see getting in?
I definitely don't think it's going to be an outrageously high number. Just because we're adding more people to the conference does not mean that we're adding an outrageous amount of, I don't want to say talent, because that sounds like I'm bashing all the athletes, but I'm not. What I'm trying to say is I agree around 2 or 3. I don't think 5 or 6 is that feasible of a number in my eyes.
Allie, how are we doing on time? We in our final 2 minutes of the show so far? We getting close?
We got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes, yeah.
I got a final 2 minutes type of question for you guys, if you'd like it.
Well, actually,
let's do it.
Make it quickly. Make it quickly. I can't tell time. I read that wrong. We have a minute.
Well, final minute, 60 seconds, round robin question. Out of these 3 sports, what do you think Texas and Oklahoma are going to affect the most? Softball, women's volleyball, or rowing? Because softball, Oklahoma won the national championship. Volleyball, Texas won the national championship. And rowing, Texas won the national championship. So the national champion is coming to the SEC. Which sport is affected the most?
I think softball, off the rip.
I'm going to agree with softball. I wish I knew more about rowing, but it's just not on the playbook for me. But softball, I mean, Oklahoma and Texas have been up in the rankings for years. I think this is going to be massive, especially when they play us. It's going to be a big spectacle. We could see some at home series. It's going to be interesting to see. But that softball for me, 100%.
I agree. It will be the spectacle because Texas was the number 1 overall seed and Oklahoma won the championship, and both of them are coming to the SEC. And you know who's number 3 in the country? The Tennessee Lady Volunteers. Talk about a gauntlet for next season in softball.
All righty. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Monday night's edition of Rock Solid Sports. I'm Allie with Griffin and Luke, and please tune in on Wednesday here on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
WUTK 90.3